Alright, so this is a quick tutorial about isometric sketching. So this is the assignment 1 in isometric sketching, and there's a couple of things just to be aware of as we do this activity. So first, the isometric sketching is simply making a 3D object appear 3D on a 2D surface. So making something like 3D on a piece of paper. And the idea here is to create something that looks kind of like these. So I've got these views for you that are provided in the assignment. This is from the second day of activities. Here's one from the first. This is the one that we're going to be doing together today. So we've got this box right here with kind of this hole cut out in the middle, and then these two views here. So we've got the top, front, right. And notice that we've got these arrows here corresponding with top, front, and right. We're going to try and put this box, or put this in here in 3D. So I've got a kind of grainy video that I'm going to share with you as I do this, and you can follow along, and this will just kind of give you some pointers for the assignment and for all three of the parts that we're doing today. So I'm going to switch over to .cam. So I've kind of already started it here. I've got kind of this faint line already started. I'm going to go through and do it again a little darker for you, but I've got this shape here, this shape there, and there. So just kind of, you can follow along with your own. I'm just going to kind of assume you already know the dimensions, and I'm going to read them out to you as I go as well. So right here, down on the bottom, I've given you a little black, we call it the chicken's foot, just because it looks like a little chicken's footprint, little toes right there. What this represents is the origin. It's the X, Y, and Z origin. So if I go straight out this way, that way, and this way, so that's X, Y, or sorry, Z, and Y right there. So for width, height, depth. So I'm going to start from here, and it says in the assignment to start with your wireframe. So this whole box here, before I worry about all the little stuff on the inside, I'm going to start with the overall largest dimensions and then cut away stuff on the inside. So first, right here, I'm going to find that my Z up here, that depth is 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters or 1 inch. So in here on this corner, I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to put a dot right there to make sure I know that that's the mark. Make this a little darker for you, like that. And then I'm going to find how high it goes, so its height with the Y. So that one I can find that here along this edge. This would be my Y value. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 3 inches. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's going to end me up right there at that point. Kind of like that. Awesome. And then for my width, with the X value, that's going to be down here, and I know that this thing is square, so I'm going to put this here just so you know that it's symmetric on both vertical and horizontal paths. So I'm going to say X right there. Up here I'm going to go over 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That point right there. Awesome. So I've got my X, Y, and my Z. And lucky for me, this is a pretty simple object. So I know that it also goes up another 12. So I'm just going to make this darker. Oops. Like that. Erase my mistake there. And come all the way back over here. Collide with that corner. And then I can do the same thing here from this point that we know. I'm going to come up 12. Right there. And then go back 4 to connect. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. It comes out and actually kind of goes outside of the sketch just a tiny bit. At least on mine, yours might be corrected. I'm going to go back here, like that. And awesome. So I've got essentially just a box. We can kind of ignore this stuff on the inside for now. I'll go back over it again in a moment. But the most important thing is just the overall size. And now we're going to start cutting it out. So if I go down here and I kind of play this game with X and Y coordinates, I can find this point and this point. I can go over 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2. So that is essentially, depending on what your origin is. So I just know that it's 3 back and then 2 up. So over here, go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and I know that that's a point. And then I know that it's the same thing on the other side, so I'm going to put 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, like that. Oh, sorry, you can see that super well. And then I've got this little 45-degree angle right there to get to those points. And these dots also connect. Awesome. And then I can come straight up to the point that's up here. So I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That connects me to that spot. Over here, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And I can put those 45-degree lines in there, and then come straight down like that. And then I'll connect these two up here. So that's most of the solid lines or whatever that I need. But there's some hidden lines and some other lines on the inside I need to take care of. On the back, there's a couple hidden edges. So kind of going back to this cube that it is that we started out with, if I go right here and come down and just do dashed lines like this, down 12, and then I bring this one over, these should intersect where there's a corner on the other side. So that's on the other side of this. It's kind of hard to tell, but that's where it is. And then on here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dash this over here, like that. So I know that there's a corner over there as well. So, and then on this back face, this is where it gets a little bit hard to visualize. But on the back, this same profile goes all the way through it and connects to the face on the opposite side. So if I extend these lines 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, matching the depth of the edges there, and then matching that slash here, and then just extending straight up, that's going to give me a pretty good representation of the hole that goes through. So these are all the solid lines. If I'm adding my hidden lines, I'm just going to add dashed lines where they're inside, like that. So I'm going to use these reference points like that, and use these dots and connect them like so. And it will be a little confusing. There's some spots where lines overlap, and it's kind of hard to tell which one will go first. Basically, if there's ever an object line that goes over a hidden line, object lines always win. Okay, so that's pretty much for these. And then the last little thing is you're going to make what's called a shading key. So over here, down below, I'm going to say that this is my shading key like this. I'm going to make 5 squares all by themselves right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I'm going to make one end super, super dark, like that. That's going to be my darkest. And then this side is going to be my lightest. I'm going to leave that one just white. And then in the middle, I'm going to say, what's the average between these two? So I'm going to say something like that. So it's kind of between, maybe a little darker so you can see it. And then I'll do the same thing. What's the average between here and here and here to put that in the middle? So even lighter, a little bit darker on this one. That's the easiest way to get a gradient. So it looks pretty good. And I just had to kind of guess it, and it works really well. So up here, I'm going to decide where's my light coming from. And I'd recommend making it come from the front as much as possible so that most of your surface area is just white, so you don't have to shade a lot of it. So I'm going to say that this is where my light's coming from, like this. I'm going to put a little sun. You better darn well put some sunglasses on him because that's important. And I'm going to say that this surface right here is white, so that's the brightest one. This will be my next mid-tone right here because it's a little bit darker. And I do apologize, I'm rushing this a little bit so the sketch doesn't look super awesome. Cool. And then maybe I'm going to make this one really dark. And the trick with making things darker isn't so much pressing really hard as it is just going over the lines more than once. If you just cram your pencil through this, you'll tear the paper, and it ends up just looking like kind of metallic almost. We're not really looking for metallic, we just want it to look darker. It's a little darker right there. And then any surface that parallels this one, so this parallels that one on the inside, so I'm going to make that the same tone. The same shade, I suppose. like so. Wonderful. I love it. And then, yeah, so then this one parallels here, so I'm going to make that one the same. It's a little bit lighter. And it helps to make sure that you kind of go the same direction, because if you cross directions, it's going to start looking like you're cross-hatching, and it kind of gives a different impression. So there's that guy. And then I'm going to go somewhere in between for this angle right here. This one's kind of in between. So it's darker than the flat one, but not as dark as the vertical. And that's it. So pretty cool. And maybe make this one just a little darker, just to emphasize that. It's really obvious that it's a dark one. Okay, and then you can go through and you can just erase any lines that went out. A nice trick here is you can take your finger and smudge. So you just take it right here, or a tissue if you don't want to get your hands dirty, and you just kind of smudge over this and kind of blend it. It's a really nice trick to make this look better, even if you're not a professional. I'm sure an art teacher would probably scream if you did this, but that's why we're in engineering. So like that. Like that. Awesome. So it kind of gives a little bit more professional look. It's not perfect, but it's better. And then you can go through and erase anywhere you went over, because if you do smudge, you're bound to kind of go outside the lines a little bit on accident. So just kind of clean it up a little bit. And that's all you need. So I did this all by hand, but I'd recommend using a ruler. It's slower, but it looks a lot better. And then anywhere you can, kind of define lines to make sure that they look straight and bold is better. So, all right, well, thank you. And good luck.